The observation deck fell silent as the Velrathi cub's teeth sank into Mira's sleeve. Rook, the station's security chief, reached for his plasma disruptor with all four of his primary arms, his chitinous faceplates flaring in alarm. Around the circular chamber, dozens of alien dignitaries froze, some in horror, others in anticipation of the bloodshed that surely must follow. The Velrathi were apex predators from a death world, their young capable of crushing bone before they could even speak. But Mira just smiled. Then she did something that would be discussed in xenobiological circles for decades to come. She bit back. Not hard humans rarely were, by galactic standards, but with enough playful pressure against the cub's shoulder to make her intent clear. The cub's 6 eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in delight. It released her sleeve and pounced again, this time aiming for her arm. Mira. Rook's translator crackled with urgency. Step away from the Velrathi spawn before. Before what? Mira laughed, rolling across the deck as the cub tumbled after her, all claws carefully sheathed. Before we have fun? The cub's mother, Ambassador Thkera, rose from her delegation seat. At full height, she stood nearly 3 meters tall, her crimson scales gleaming under the station's artificial lights. Every species in the room tensed. The Velrathi had been part of the Galactic Council for only 2 standard cycles, and their customs were still largely mysterious and terrifying. Thkera approached slowly, her massive head lowered to observe the human and her offspring wrestling on the polished floor. Mira had somehow gotten behind the cub and was gently scratching behind its auditory ridge, a spot that, apparently, even Velrathi found irresistible. The cub made a sound somewhere between a purr and a growl, its tail thumping against the deck. You. Kara's voice resonated through her chest cavity, a deep rumble that humans could feel in their bones. You play with my child, as if you were Pack. Mira looked up, still grinning, slightly breathless. On Earth, we'd call this roughhousing. Kids do it all the time. Well, human kids, and pretty much any young predator, actually. She paused, realization dawning. Wait, is this not normal? Rook finally holstered his weapon, though his mandibles still clicked nervously. Human Mira. The Velrathi do not play with outsiders. To engage in combat bonding with a Velrathi youth is to claim kinship with their bloodline. You may have just accepted my daughter into your pack, Thkera finished. The massive alien tilted her head, studying Mira with an expression that might have been amusement. Tell me, human, do your kind often adopt the children of species that could devour you whole? Mira stood up, dusting off her uniform. The cub immediately pressed against her legs, nearly bowling her over. We've been known to make friends with creatures that could kill us, yeah. Wolves, bears, big cats. We're kind of weird that way. She scratched the cub's head ridge again. What's her name? Sheka. Thera moved closer, and Rook tensed again. But the ambassador simply lowered herself to the deck beside her daughter. She has been. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you. End quote. Restless since we arrived at this station. The others fear her. Their fear makes her aggressive. They're scared because they don't understand, Mira said, sitting cross-legged on the floor between the 2 Velrathi. To the assembled diplomats, it looked like a lamb positioning itself between lions. On Earth, we learned a long time ago that predators aren't evil. They're just predators. And their kids? They're just kids who need to play. Sheka headbutted Mira's shoulder gently. For a Velrathi, and the human responded by wrapping her arms around the cub's thick neck, in what could only be described as a hug. The cub's tail wagged harder. Your species is either remarkably brave or remarkably foolish, Thkera observed. I have not yet determined which. Why not both? Mira suggested. And to everyone's shock, the Velrathi ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. The implications rippled across the observation deck. The Har-Rathi delegation began whispering among themselves. The crystalline collective's representative literally vibrated with confusion. Rook sat down heavily in the nearest chair, his translator muttering something about humans being cosmically impossible. Over the following hours, as the diplomatic summit continued, something unprecedented occurred. Sheka remained at Mira's side, occasionally gnawing on the human's boots or playfully batting at her legs, and Mira, for her part, treated the deadly alien child exactly as she would any rambunctious puppy from Earth, with affection, firm boundaries, and an endless capacity for play. When the Zelthian ambassador nervously approached to present his credentials, Sheka growled. Mira immediately tapped the cub's snout. No. Friendly. The cub subsided, though she continued to eye the Zelthian suspiciously. She listens to you, Kara noted with something that might have been approval. You establish pack hierarchy without violence. This is efficient. It's called training, Mira explained. Positive reinforcement, clear communication. Works on most intelligent species. She paused. No offense intended, none taken. Your methods are sound. Kara's tail swished thoughtfully. The Council fears my people, because they see only our capacity for violence. But you see a child who needs guidance. Mira shrugged. That's kind of our thing. Humans have this weird habit of looking at scary things and thinking, I bet we could be friends. She smiled. Sometimes, it gets us killed. But sometimes, she gestured to Sheka, who had fallen asleep with her head in Mira's lap. Sometimes, it gets us family. Rook approached cautiously, his voice modulator set to a low volume. The Council is impressed and confused. Mostly confused. Good, Thera said, rising to her full height. Let them be confused. Let them wonder why the humans fear nothing, befriend everything, and somehow survive. She looked down at Mira, still calmly stroking her daughter's scales. Perhaps this is why your species thrives. You do not conquer through strength alone. You conquer through kinship. Mira looked up, meeting the ambassador's gaze. As the summit concluded and delegates began filing out, more than one paused to stare at the impossible scene. A human, barely 1.5 meters tall, serving as a pillow for a Velrothi cub that would grow into one of the galaxy's most fearsome predators. And in that moment, watching Mira gently wake Sheka and guide her back to her mother, the Galactic Council began to understand something important about humanity. They weren't the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced species among the stars, but they might be the bravest, or the most foolish. The galaxy still hadn't decided which.